Hello, my name is Lorcan, and this is a short video to talk a little bit about the process of moving towards a full-time contract for adult education tutors. I'm a tutor in Sligo. So let's just look quickly at this in the background and then the future, what the future holds, hopefully. So the history is, well, this has been going on for a long time. So it's been going on probably for decades, some people. Tutors have been fighting for decades for decent paying conditions, individually and through unions, through the TUI and the SIP2 mainly. So it didn't culminate, but it started really, maybe this was the start of the process, in the Haddington Road Agreement. This is the Public Service Agreement, 2015. It didn't provide a contract for tutors, but it did mention adult education tutors in what they call the Chairman's Note. So it didn't resolve anything, but this chairman's note was, well, let's have a look at it. So the chairman's note, if you read about it in the Labour Court judgment and in different places. So just to know what it is, it had four elements relating to adult education tutors. So the first one was a tutor CID, contract of infinite duration. A lot of people may have that already. After 4 years, you're entitled to a confirmation of your hours. A leave scheme, so maternity and sick leave, that only came in after the Haddington Road Agreement, and those two we have. The next one is incremental salary scale for tutors. This is what we're waiting for. And the establishing the difference between tutor grade and teacher grade, well, I don't know if it's very useful for us, but it may be something the Department of Education wants to do. But the important thing there is the incremental salary scale for tutors, which is the important one that hasn't been organized yet. So this note really said, this is something we're putting at the end of this agreement. We're not going to do it now, but we look to do it into the future. So they're kind of just pushing it on down the road a little bit. And there's a link to it. So this went on, the unions took the Department of Education to the Labour Court. SIP2 and TUI were looking for what was said in the chairman's note, the rest of the chairman's note, which is an incremental salary scale for tutors, and a full-time contract for adult education tutors. So they were looking for teacher status, but it's probable that they really didn't expect to get teacher status for tutors. But either way, the Department of Education opposed this teacher status, and really opposed any kind of idea of giving a salary scale and a full-time contract. They claimed that they were unable to make an offer because it carries a financial cost. So basically, it means they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to spend the money. It's very simple. So the Labour Court decision, there was again, that's the link there. I'll put it in the PowerPoint at the bottom in one of the comments in the YouTube video. But the Labour Court came to the decision that the employer, which is the Department of Education, should identify the scale of cost it is now prepared or able to absorb to address the union's claims, and should formulate an offer. So that's all kind of cloudy language. It's not very clear, but really it basically says to the Department of Education, you need to offer the unions something along the lines of what they're looking for, a salary scale and a full-time contract. It's not very definite, but that's generally what it's talking about. But it also said that the tutors are not teachers, and it wasn't expecting the department to give us teacher status or teacher scale. So what is the current situation? Well, the unions are still waiting for an offer from the Department of Education. So the Labour Court judgment was in March 2020, just before the lockdown. So COVID has slowed everything down, of course. That's the excuse they're using, and maybe it was valid at the beginning, but it's hardly valid now, well into all of this. So what the government is planning to do, and what the unions are kind of taking up on, is they're planning to resolve this issue through the Building Momentum Public Service Agreement. So the last one is Haddington Road, and this one is Building Momentum, the Public Service Agreement. So the unions get together with the government and decide what's going to happen with people in the public service, their pay, and conditions for the next 5 or 6 years. So in education, building momentum provides for 3 1% pay increases over the next 2 years. So all teachers were going to get the 3 1% pay increases. But the TOI proposes using one of these 1% increases to address outstanding issues in post-primary, so secondary school, pay equality. In other words, equality between pre-2011 and post-2011, to try and close the gap. That's what some of that money would be used for. And in further education, one of the things that it would be used for is contracts for adult ed tutors. So that's the proposal. And the union is now in May 2021, May 20th. Unions are still waiting for an offer from the Department of Education. And that's really what we're doing. We're waiting. All the tutors are waiting. The Department of Education is due to publish an action plan, or to finalize an action plan at least, by June 2021. And that should have an idea of what their plans are in terms of further education and if we are in them. And the changes are due to come into effect from February 2022. So what are the implications? Well, nothing has been decided or offered yet. So we're completely up in the air. We have nothing at the moment. And we have no guarantee we're going to get anything worthwhile. We may and we may not. The Department of Education will not deal directly with tutors. The department are dealing with the unions. So really, they're not coming to individual tutors and saying, what do you think? They're dealing with the TUI and SIP2. And, well, I will come back to that in a second. So the implication of that is, if you're not in a union, you have little or no influence on how this develops. If you are in a union, you can possibly raise your voice, go to branch meetings, and find out what's going on and pester people into trying to take our situation seriously. So one speculation I have heard is that tutors could be offered something along the lines of the Youth Reach Resource Worker contract. If you want to look at the salary scale for a Youth Reach Resource Worker, it's up on the TUI website, or you can find it in the Department of Education, I'm sure. So they have a salary scale, and they start at 0.1 and go up to 0.15 possibly. Each year you get an increment and you go up 1 point in the scale. So, but that's only speculation. There's nothing real or actual about that at the moment. So that is the history, the current situation, and the possible future. We can only cross our fingers and try and get involved as much as possible. Anybody got questions or comments? McNamee Lorcan at gmail.com. Thanks for watching.